want the fans to have their seat. We want to score goals. We want to get them, momentum on our side. And then on the flip side is when we don't have the ball, we got to be dogs.
De ahí está Musa para terminar la jugada y eso es lo que hace un buen delantero. Se pone en una buena posición, termina la jugada 3.
And we're live. There we are. We are live. Welcome everyone to Afterburn Soccer Show. Oh, let me bring in here. There he is.
Cool.
What's up?
He's just pulled in. Welcome everybody to the Afterburn Soccer Show. We're here to talk FC Dallas. We're here to talk North Texas Soccer Club. We're here to break down what was a weird weekend. A weekend with heroics, a weekend with joy, but a weekend with also disappointment. A weekend with fierce wind, which it just a lot going on this weekend. We'll break it all down. We're joined here. Of course, I'm Nathan. You can follow me at Afterburn Soccer on X, on Blue Sky, and of course, joined by our buddy Jose at El Chico Carmona.
What's up?
Our buddy Chris Winters at C Wintus.
What's going on, everybody? Missed you last week.
Yeah, missed you too. And Colin at Mr. Coov, although he may still be on the clock. All right, there he is. Well, and hopefully some folks will tag on here, add your comments, your questions, as we break down a busy weekend and a weekend that I've still been trying to unpack. We'll get to North Texas a little bit later, but let's just start with FC Dallas. At home in Frisco, after the really hard-fought battle in LA, one battle after another there. Anyway, Oscar reference. Oscar, okay. Anyway, back home, you're hoping that home cooking was going to carry things for the squad, and it was just one of those games where some bounces did not go FC Dallas's way. At one point down 3-1, but Petar Musa, and really to a team that didn't quit. Some teams might have quit in this scenario. FC Dallas did not quit, and Petar Musa ends up with a hat trick, a late. They almost maybe had a chance there for a go-ahead goal. What a performance. Again, we see this team fight so hard for each other. But Musa also earned Player of the Match Day by Major League Soccer for his heroics. So let's just talk about that performance. A disappointment to only get 1 point at home against a rotated San Diego side, and yet not a disappointment for this team to claw themselves back into salvaging something. Jose, we'll start with you tonight. Just what were your reactions to the 3-3 draw at home against San Diego?
Well, it's always hard to be happy with a draw at home, but it's the way that this team achieved the draw. You have to be pretty happy with it. They frankly outplayed San Diego for a large portion of the games, and honestly, the two penalties, you got to wonder if those happen if Roguita's out there. So just bad luck to have your best defender out against a team like San Diego, a team that was there to be taken. And it's still hard to be upset with a 3-3 draw. I mean, 1 point in your last two matches, yet you've played the top two teams in the West and have gone blow for blow with both of them. I guess I'm satisfied with the draw. I wish I could say I was happy with it. I'm more happy with the direction that I think this team's going. I was also would like to say a shout out to that new formation that Quill rolled out, which was very interesting. to say the least. And looking forward to seeing if it's something we'll see more, or if it's just thrown out there to, as a change of pace or something.
Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously watching the game, I felt like Dallas was pretty dominant the whole entire time. It's one of those kind of frustrating games because you create a bunch of turnovers with the high press, which was awesome to see, but just would have loved him to bury a couple. And, it was just kind of interesting because it's like at one point, San Diego gets two just kind of fluky PKs, and now you're up 2-0. That's a hard, regardless of who's playing, that's a hard score line to come back from. So was just really proud of the guys from coming back and at least salvaging the point at home, because I think that's important. And, one thing that I've noticed just over the past couple games, and I think is a good sight moving forward, is, despite San Diego scoring 3 goals, the back line played pretty well. And I think that's something that every Dallas fan was worried about coming into the season. But, against Nashville, you hold them to no goals, and LAFC on the road, 1 goal off of, just a beauty of a goal that, I mean, you can't fault them for that. And then San Diego, I mean, just 1 really earned goal there. So it was like, I thought they've played well, and hats off to Quill for the fact that he's really instilled a good plan with the pieces that he has. So I think overall it's been exciting, and similar to what Jose was saying, be interesting to see if he keeps this rotation moving forward. Like, does Musa stay alone up top? Is this a personnel thing? Was this mainly because Julio was a little banged up? So you think, okay, maybe just with the personnel that I've got, maybe go to 1 Barrington off the bench. So we'll see. But overall, pleased with the performance.
Yeah, Colin, are you able to give us your quick thoughts? You've been processing it now.
Yeah, I'm 100% good now. Perfect timing, but yeah, it's one of those things. I wasn't at the game. I was driving home from South Dakota. I was in the middle of Kansas watching the game on the drive back. So I missed the first penalty. Is one of those that I sent a thing to our group chat. Henry Tuffalo in the Miami Charlotte game had an exact same situation. He's lunging to make a block, his arms extended, hits his arm not above the sleeve or above the elbow or any of the technicalities you want to try and say that IFAB and PRO and FIFA and all this do. Wasn't called, and that was like 30 minutes before our game. And the fact that it had no call, no whatever, you can complain about it all day long. It's a guaranteed pen. I'm not trying to argue that, but the inconsistencies in refereeing, I'll always complain about as a referee myself. But whenever it comes to like Dallas, I mean, Johansson is 1 step behind of giving up that pen. If he's there half a second earlier, he's making a great tackle there to get the ball away. So just unfortunate he had to go for it too. I don't blame him. Shaq is lunging for the ball, and it's unfortunate that it's being whipped in and not an outward cross. And then of course Norris, he doesn't know that Colodey's able to make that save behind him. He's doing a natural defender trying to block it and actually puts in the top corner. So it's one of those things. All 3 goals, I don't want to say they're fluky or whatever, but Jose did make the thing the quote last week and said that they were fluky. I think they heard it when they beat Toluca down to 9 men on Wednesday. But they also, I mean, look at their MLS play. They haven't been like mesmerizing to watch. They've played really nobody, like we talked about, and the fact that this team gave up 2 penalties and was able to still come back and tie has been really good. We can get into individual performances later, but I feel like mostly everybody had a really good game. Even though, yes, Urguide wasn't at the back, I still feel like the back line wasn't a terrible issue. Again, it's a bad giveaway there, and then even if Osaze is in, the Johansson penalty still happens because it's a breakaway from the corner and a restart of play. So it's one of those things. Like I don't know if it changes those aspects of the game, but it definitely changes maybe how we go forward with his ability to pass. But if that happens, Norris isn't in there to also break away from Musa's second goal that ended up being the penalty. Norris also had that goal that was the offside goal. If he lets it go to Musa, maybe we win that game. A lot of things where it's like 50-50 or like what ifs to where we win the 3 points. But at the end of the day, I don't like getting draws at home, but you look at the schedule, and you tell me we're going to have 5 points playing that schedule. I don't think there's a universe where you're like, oh, we're getting 5 points, and you turn that down thinking we're going to do better. I mean, everyone expected us to lose in LA, and we outplayed LAFC in LA for the first time probably ever. I think we have one result there, and it was a very rotated LAFC team from what I remember. And then the rest of the time we've gotten the brakes spanked off of us. Even in our draws, it's been very scrappy draws. So I'm very happy where the team's at. And unfortunately, we didn't have Osaze or even Julio off the bench because if Dietzen, which again we can get individual performances later, if Dietzen can do what he did for this team, imagine what Julio could have done for this team off the bench against San Diego. But I'm happy with every aspect of the performance besides the penalties. They're unfortunate, but they have to be better. Can't make those mistakes. But again, you tell me we're getting a draw against San Diego at home, I'm taking it all day long. And it pissed off my boss, so it was pretty funny to hear him. He had my tickets for the game. I sold them to him, so I was like, so I took your money and your joy. A little bit of a Uno reverse card for our work in our jobs. So it was fun to tease him about that. But yeah, no, it's super fun. Loved it.
I mean, it was like, if you want goals, this was a game that had a lot of goals. And I said it to on Luis's kind of his instant reaction, kind of Twitter radio space or whatever.
Yeah.
Give credit to San Diego. I mean, this team surprised everyone last year. We typically, these expansion teams, it takes a year or two for them to try to build a foundation, and San Diego has, I think they probably have a great scouting department, great analytics department, just to be able to target the players they know and get players that they can get a lot out of. It makes me jealous. It makes me jealous because I wish FC Dallas got as much out of some of their pieces as San Diego's getting out of super draft picks, out of guys that look like depth pieces but have put in good shifts. So something to be said about what San Diego is doing there. Give them credit, but it's a question where a few bounces, some bad luck in this would hurt FC Dallas. A half second here or there, things might be different. And at the same time, the fight of FC Dallas. In fact, let's go ahead and hear. I just think this is fun too. I kind of started the clip early, but this is Quill just stepping up for the post game, and I just like his swagger. I like the energy he brings, how he talks about this team. As much as then we can also, get a little fussy about particulars, but let's just listen to Quill, kind of his reaction after the match.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to FC Dallas post-match press conference with head coach Eric Quill. We'll begin with Drew Epperly from Big D Soccer.
Coach, big effort there at the end. What do you make of your team's response tonight, going down multiple goals, especially penalty kicks that could have gone either way? Just what do you thought tonight?
I think it just says everything about the type of team we are. I was really proud of us last weekend, even though we didn't get the result. I was proud of how we played, our front-footedness, our ambition in a talented squad's house, and then coming back here, we had a decision to make. When we go down 2-0 from 2 pens that first one really unlucky. And you could say, I just told the guy, you could easily chalk it up to how it's not our night, here we go again type of mindset, and you kind of just let the game play out in that fashion. These guys didn't do that. These guys were warriors. They were believers. They were connected. They were fighting, scrapping. And this is what, if you want to be a champion, at the end you got to have that. You got to have that DNA, that will. Down 2-0, then down 3-1. Again, two opportunities to hang your head and say it's not our night, and to come back both times and even almost steal it. I know they had a big chance at the end too, but so, I mean, if you're a fan of FC Dallas and you're not proud of the effort and the excitement of what this team is in the direction we're going, I mean, it's I love being their coach. I'm proud of these guys. our XG. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. I think if we would like some chances back in the first half, I thought our pressure up front was outstanding and gave us moments where we weren't quite clinical to kill them. And that's maybe the difference, but the mentality to come back twice and in the way that we did, I enjoyed what I watched.
Yeah, Coach. It's Coach. He loves his guys. He loves what he's getting out of these guys, even if the result didn't go their way. And he's right. This is soccer. There's bad luck. There are bad bounces that happen to really good teams. But you like to see a team, stay in it, stay hungry, stay connected, keep fighting, because you never know when that point is going to make a difference come the end of the season, right? But I guess my question for you guys is this thread that's been circling out there about Musa, that in some ways FC Dallas, we're so fortunate to have a legit star striker who can bang them in any way you need them to be banged in. And yet we know that that possibility, that clock is ticking out there, that he may not be with this team after the World Cup, depending on all the things that happen. I mean, he could still be, who knows? But just the way he's playing, some other team needs a striker, and it's going to see what he can do and put other pieces around him. So, I mean, is that thread? Is that thing you buy in? I think it was Ben Wright who posted that FC Dallas almost doesn't deserve him because FC Dallas is not putting the pieces around him to win, to do the things that he can be successful. But I don't know if that's fair to FC Dallas. I don't know if that's a little harsh on FC Dallas as an organization, or if we're just fortunate to have Musa land here in Dallas, regardless of the team. He's such a gift to watch play. So, Colin, do you buy into that thread that FC Dallas is kind of wasting Musa a little bit?
I mean, you could argue that we are, and you could argue that we're not. I mean, you also got to think about when Musa was signed, right? When Musa was signed, it was Nico Estevez's third year. We had just gone from third place in the West to seventh. A lot of injury rows and a bunch of draws because we could not finish. It's one of those things where we needed a striker, and we had decent pieces around him. And with the way Nico played, it didn't benefit his play. And it's not from Dallas's lack of trying. I mean, we went out last year and bought a freaking MLS MVP caliber player, someone who definitely had a bit of a fall off for Cincinnati in his second year, but he would still be able to be successful. And we got him for, honestly, you look at how good Lucho was, a steal for $5 million of the player he was in Cincinnati. Yes, he had that fall off, but for that kind of a quality player to be only $5 million, I mean, come on now. It was a great deal for us. It's just unfortunate how he honestly didn't want to be in Dallas. He was ready to come here and fight whatever, and he said that BS, but he came and just wanted to be the star player and do nothing for it. And while he did look good statistically with his passing and everything, he was lazy as hell. Off the ball, he did nothing, and he just sat there. He tried to be like a cherry picker like Messi, but he could never get involved until game 12, and then he started looking all right. And even then, at that point, it's just over. So it's one of those things where it's not for a lack of trying for Dallas. You can make an argument that this season, with the acquisitions for the team, we're not trying by adding a DP, but also you're kind of limited in the winter to get a DP player. I mean, look at Musa for Benfica. Benfica, he was their third choice striker, and they had their main striker at the time coming back from injury, and they were reluctant to sell him. We had an agreement with them already on a fee in the $9 million range back in December when we first started talks. Because the striker got injured, it knocked that value up to 12 or 13 million. Because in January, we don't have that much time to talk for, a month or two to get the best deals. January time is usually, I have no bodies, I need somebody, or I need, or for MLS teams, it's how do I make my team better with a bunch of the, second or third team players, how do I make my team better in MLS? Or do I go to the Israeli league or some people in the Chinese league we've signed, stuff like that. So it's what do I do in January when it's supposed to be my main off-season edition window? But a lot of these teams aren't going to be able to sign a replacement when we can go all the way from December to March, and these teams only have January 1st to January 31st. So I think that take from Ben Wright is honestly just it's the dumbest thing I've read in a long time. Just because look at what Dallas did with Mauro Diaz after Castillo left, Barrio started having a decline. Um, it you can make that point for Jesus Ferreira. Did we put the pieces around Jesus Ferreira for him to be successful? No, but it's one of those things where I also don't think like there's Jesus Ferreira here, and then Musa excels above Jesus in my opinion. Love Jesus to death, but I think the whole they're not putting people around him. It's not legit. I mean, we built a on paper a decent squad for that 4-2-3-1, but the main piece that we brought in to fit that 4-2-3-1 playstyle for Quill didn't work. So what did we do? On the fly, made a formation change that makes the players that looked all right in the 4-2-3-1 look way better in a 3-5-2 or 3-4-1-2 or whatever the heck you want to call it. And it's just like I just think that I can rant about this for another 30 minutes. It's just a bogus take. It's just trying to, a small club mentality. FC Dallas is a small club. They finally hit a big player or whatever, and they finally spent some money, so let's bash them for it. At least we're not the Houston Dynamo spending, $13 million on Ponce, and he's your backup to a 31-year-old Brazilian winger who's carrying your team more than your record signing of Bogusz. But I won't. I mean, no hate, no hate is coming towards Houston for how they handled that. No hate's going towards Austin about how do you build around Driussi. Like no hate like that happened for him. No hate's happened for how do you build around Brandon Vasquez because Zuni's not good or whatever. All these other teams in the similar Dallas picture, they don't get the same hate we do, and I'm tired of it. Just because we have probably the best striker in MLS, put some respect on our name because we're gonna put our name on the map this season. I would be surprised if we're not. If we keep playing like this the whole season, barring injuries and everything else, knock on wood, whatever. But like, I can see us being top 5 in the West, and it's just one of those things where pundits are gonna try and take their cheap shots and get their clicks because it's their job and that's how they make their money. Fair play. I mean, I can sit here and post a bunch of hot takes, get some clicks, and make some decent side cash. But I'm also not an idiot who wants to embarrass themselves online. Too much more so than I already have. So I think that tweet was just bogus. I think that whole thing was just the dumbest thing I've read in a long time. So I think Dallas has done really well building around Musa and being able to change up basically the whole identity of a team halfway through the season and recover like we did and still excel next year even people know how we're going to play already.
Jose, looks like you're itching to get in there.
I can't match that passion, but I'll say that it's a comment made by someone who knows nothing about this team. This team started last year with the intent purposes of bringing in a 10, and I would argue that signing Lucho derailed us because they were looking for somebody, and had Lucho not become available, I mean, we would have gotten someone else. And the team right now, you look at we have an open DP spot. Well, I think they have to. They're basically nervous about the next 10 guy that the next 10 they bring in because they can't bring in Lucho, 2.0. So I think that scared them a little, and they're just playing it safe, saying, "Hey, we're gonna get the right guy. We're gonna take as much time as it needs because look at last time. We had a guy drop in our lap. It looked too good to be true, and it turned out to be too good to be true, and we can't afford that." So someone who doesn't know what's going on with his team, that's just a comment from someone who basically looks, "Oh, what's going on over there?" And it's a comment from someone who lacks the knowledge of the club, and that's I'll leave it at that.
But I would say, I mean, not that I read his entire piece or anything, and I think as good as Musa is, you bring in Valiente, who's I think is going to be a fine signing. He looks like he is going to be a nice motor, a nice creative piece, and will improve a bit as he gets more comfortable with the team. You have a midfield rotation that's some good players, some really solid players. you brought in a wing back that you thought was going to help really push the team forward, and Johansson has been fine, okay, but not fully there yet. Kamungo, we know what he can bring, and he can bring flashes of brilliance, and he can also be frustrating at times. But I think maybe you say, well, why didn't they bring in a defensive reinforcement who was going to really help elevate, this defense? So you're not giving up 3 goals. So you're supporting Musa in what he's doing, or looking to even deepen the squad or bring in more star talent. But I think that's fine. I think that's nothing unusual for FC Dallas fans, because we've always wanted this organization to spend more. We've always wanted them to invest more in the team, but it's harder than that just to throw money at problems, because you can also spend that money poorly, as we mentioned with Lucho. You get a great talent, but it just doesn't work. So it's a. And I think the other thing is just like the homegrown piece, being frustrated that more homegrowns aren't, getting key minutes and really developing, so that they're becoming the answer to those questions that this roster has. But you're right. On the other hand, it's easy to criticize it from the outside, and when this team is trying to improve and they're trying to do it within their framework and trying to find the pieces that fit. And Musa hasn't needed a ton to be productive. That's the great thing about Musa. Like, he has feasted without a ton of service at times, and so credit to him. I think it just adds to his value. I hope FC Dallas can keep hold of him. But if he makes the World Cup squad and he does something in the World Cup, then it's going to be really, really tough. It's going to be really tough. And this is that game. I think it's one of those, the 3-3. We can be really harsh on this team and just say, like, our defense wasn't good enough. These guys made mistakes and put us in a hole. But it's also a game where you say, man, we played a good team that are really well coached, really well drilled, who know what they're going to do to make life miserable for us. And we had bounces go our way, go against us, and we found a point. We came back, and so there's something to build upon in both instances. And the thing, Chris, I'd love to hear from you, just your kind of grading on Nolan Norris getting his first start of the year. Yeah, he gave up the own goal, mistake, but really not a bad game from him overall. And I think he does bring something we wanted to see, as far as a homegrown taking his next step, but also his passing ability. Maybe, he had some really cool moments that shows what he can do in that department. What did you think about him getting that first start?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he kind of summed it up well. Like, I think for the most part, I think he played fine. Obviously, he's still getting minutes underneath him at the first team level, so this is to be expected. I mean, I think in a lot of ways we kind of hyped him up being this next great center back, which he has the talent. He has the ability to make great passes upfield, which is something that a guy like Ibiaga I don't think necessarily has. And so that's a bonus for him. But I think, where a guy like Ibiaga probably gets more time over Norris is just the fact that he's that vocal leader on the field. And when you don't have Osaze, you've got to have someone there that's commanding the defense. So, I think I was pleased with how Norris played. Long balls over top is kind of getting a little tiring from some of the defenders, and I just would like to see a little bit more build up through the actual field, which I think Norris brings. And I think as he gets more minutes and more time, I think we'll see more of that kind of come through. But yeah, overall, pretty pleased.
Well, all right. Well, let's shift gears. We'll come back. We'll come back to FC Dallas. We're going to talk about the Dynamo, the next home matchup, big rivalry match. But let's shift down to the windy Austin. I didn't know it was could be that windy in Austin, but a really kind of bizarre game, as a game we all predicted. I think it was going to be a blowout, with North Texas was going to dominate, and North Texas just did not come out. I don't know if it was the right energy or if just Austin FC had their number, but first half was not great. Austin FC was able to get a go-ahead goal, and then they were just able to sort of ride that out, even though, and of course, a red card to Josh Torquato the second half didn't help. And that's the wind that kept balls moving, that made corner kicks weird, made balls over the top next to impossible. I mean, and there was some energy in the second half from North Texas. They certainly put up a fight, but I think Gall after the match was essentially like, that was a hard one. Let's put it behind us. Let's move on. Chris, thoughts on that performance from North Texas?
Yeah, no, Gall, I think, summed it up perfectly when we got on the post game, and he was just like, wind, man. Like, that was just, it ruined the game, unfortunately. The first half, the one goal that Austin gets is just this super ambitious shot from just outside the box that takes a deflection off Starnes, finds its way in the back of the net, and then you're down 1-0, and you're battling the win the rest of the first half. And then you go down to a red card in the second half, and then you're still battling the wind, which completely just takes away the competitiveness of the game. But overall, I thought there were some highlights during the game. I thought, Starnes looked good. Obviously, it was unfortunate that he's kind of the reason that ball went in, but it's just such an unlucky bounce. But I thought his development's been nice. And then I like the showing of Newman. I'm glad he's getting a little bit more minutes out there. I've been, just kind of pondering the thought of what this offense looks like when tactically, if they put in a guy like Newman, like, do you move him out because he's got a little bit more size, athleticism, against a team like they're coming up against the Dynamo Dose, right? Like, they're obviously a powerhouse right now. Would love to see a guy like him match up, more so than maybe a Jaden Contreras, who's a little bit more offensive minded. So, just kind of a game that you don't want to remember, and I think you're going to forget about it and just move on because the wind canceled it.
Yeah, it was frustrating to watch simply because the wind was basically like a 12th man. I mean, for both teams, really. And it's a game that should have finished 0-0. Both teams, really, there wasn't much separating both teams. It was basically they took turns turning the ball over in the midfield, and it looked like a ping pong match at times. It allowed for basically precision passing was out the window, and it was just, like I said, frustrating. It's too bad that Austin got that goal. It was not. I mean, it's the kind of shot that you want them to take. Honestly, those are the kind of shots that you'd rather they be taking. And unfortunately, one goes in and you lose. But I don't think there's not much to be gained from this match, other than on to the next one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that's without, like, I thought, obviously, being in the wind here in Wichita Falls, which is 4 hours away, it was still pretty bad here. I don't know if Chris, you were out on Sunday and how bad it was in Dallas, but it was. Yep. We had a softball practice. It was horrendous here, and it was apparently worse in Austin. They got it earlier than we did in the evening, so they had it pretty bad going up there. So I could imagine what it was like. But I mean, let's not also take away like positives from this game too. I mean, Nice still looks incredible. Starnes still looks really good as well. That center back partnership of Bigger and Starnes is going to be incredible to watch. That is in my opinion, if we had another Hedges Zimmerman combo from the Super Draft and our youngsters and everything, I could see that being them. I mean, they remind me a lot of a young Matt Hedges when he was in college, and Zimmerman coming into the league at first, where they're just massive, big dudes. They're going to run you over, get the ball, do whatever it takes to defend the badge and the goal. And I mean, rookie mistakes happen, right? It's one of those things where, I'd rather them make the mistakes now for North Texas than on the big stage of the FCD, like, unfortunately, Zimmerman and Matt had to do in their first couple seasons. And now they have former Matt Hedges. I mean, they have Matt Hedges coaching them. So it's one of those things where I could definitely see these guys being possible contributors to the first team as well. So it's one of those things, like, there's positives for this team, even with that kind of a match. I thought, with Alex Resse, how do you pronounce his name, being with the first team in Salt Lake, we're like, oh, so they're kind of just abandoning the second team almost, just taking their best player away from them. But it ended up not mattering with that wind. And it's like y'all said, it kind of takes the competitive nature out of the game. It was more so just, can I get a goal and then just somehow play the wind to my advantage, and that's what Austin did, and they did it really well. Credit to them. But it's just one of those things, man. It's just like, what are you supposed to do about the wind? It just kind of
Yeah.
defeats the whole purpose. So
First time I've ever watched a soccer game where they had to have like basically a place kicker kind of a guy up there to hold the ball, right? And so it wouldn't squirt down the field. But I was sort of hoping at the end with those corner kicks that maybe one of them was going to be like a wind assisted Olympico or something, but not to be. But it was bizarre. It was. I almost wondered why the refs didn't just say, hey, maybe we need to, but they played in snow. They played in worse things. I mean, so it was a weird game. Really hard for these guys to get into rhythm. And I think it is one they'll just got to move on from and look in for what's to come down the line, and keep building for what's to come. So let's talk about what's coming up. Of course, highlighted that it's a rivalry weekend ahead. Dynamo in town, but of course North Texas will head back down to Houston, back down that way in Texas to take on Dynamo 2. So points to be had. Hopefully won't be as windy for them. So, I'm still getting acquainted with the way teams have changed and stuff. And Dynamo have always been a tough out for North Texas. Jose, what are you feeling about this match for North Texas? Do they match up well against Dynamo 2?
So Dynamo 2 will be playing their fourth match at home in a row to start the season, and they have been dominant. Just an outrageously quick team. They have they're extremely young. Also, honestly, it looks like an academy all-star team with a couple of veterans in there. You got like a older midfielder, older striker, and older goalkeeper. But everybody else is kids other than that, and super quick to a man. They will press you out of out of the pitch. Their striker Salsa, I believe, and their number 10, like a 17-year-old kid. I forget his name, but it's Aldama or Alda, something like that. They're both fantastic on the attack, and they're gonna be a handful for any team. Uh, in all honesty, it's a bad matchup, especially on the road coming off the Austin match. I can see North Texas losing, 2-1. I will say one thing that I had to look up because I thought I was imagining it, and I had to make sure I researched it. Houston has a fatal flaw that none of the first three opponents have bothered to attempt to attack, and North Texas is well built to attack this flaw, and I will be very disappointed if they don't go after it. And that is, as such a young team that Dynamo 2 is, they're also extremely tiny. Their starting backline, and I'll scratch my head on this, double checking, is 5'8" and 5'10". That's your starting center backs, both academy kids, and there's two kids that are 6 foot tall on the team, and everybody else in that roster is 5'8" or 5'7". That's why they're so quick, but they are tiny, and so North Texas, my goodness, our strikers are going to look like behemoths out there against those guys. I thought I was imagining it, but I looked up the striker for Portland, and he was 5'9", and you could tell he was taller than one of their center backs. He looked huge against those guys. So North Texas needs to be physical. They need corners and set pieces galore. They need to attack that shortness. When I say there's only two 6 foot tall players on that team, I'm not joking. One's a striker and one's a fullback. Everybody else is tiny and small. So physicality and height, two things that North Texas has in abundance. They need to put Houston on their back heel. Otherwise, Houston will simply run them off the pitch because they are so quick. They're so tiny. They dart all over the place. But fatal flaw, height.
All right.
It's a winnable match if you exploit that weakness.
Yeah, one of the two in the Western Conference, at least, undefeated teams so far. Chris, your thoughts? North Texas is going to match up. This is going to be a tough one. Looks like.
Yeah, I think it'll be tough, but as Jose correctly pointed out, Dynamo Dos 3-0-0 on the season. They've outscored their opponents 11-0. They're an extremely quick, pacey team. But like Jose's saying, their big flaw is size. And although they pepper a bunch of shots on goal, I think North Texas is built to beat a team like this. They have size up front. They have size in back. This would be a perfect game, in my opinion, that I would put someone like an Enzo Newman back there out on the wing, just because I like the presence and the athleticism that he brings. He also brings a little bit more of a different dynamic because I don't think you necessarily need to be super offensive against a team like this. You can build up through the midfield, which they've done great so far. And as long as there's no wind, I mean, I think this team plays really, really well. So, I like their chances. And, obviously once we get to predict, what I'm thinking. But I think they've got a great chance to show that they're going to be a really competitive team this season.
Well, let's jump. Let's do predictions now. I'm happy with the point on the road. I want to see North Texas just keep improving, but it's going to be tough. It's always road points are always valuable in this league. So I'll go with a 2-2 draw on the road and a penalty kick shootout win for North Texas, who deserve one. Jose, what do you think?
I'll match that 2-2 prediction, but it'll be a PK loss. So it'll be a 1 point on the road.
All right.
Did you guys see my notes before this? Because I went 2-2 as well. PK win. I obviously when it gets down to PK, sometimes it's just kind of a toss up between these teams. But
flip coin.
I think it's going to be super competitive. I think Dynamo will obviously get a couple goals just because of how great they are offensively. But I think Simmons is going to have a great game, just being able to utilize his size and kind of like Jose's saying, getting a lot of crosses in and hopefully a lot of set pieces. But I like their chances. I'm going 2-2 draw, but they win in PKs.
Colin, predictions for North Texas at Houston. Oh, you're muted.
Oh, you're muted.
Am I good now?
You're good now, yeah.
Okay, good. I have my hand over the mic. That's why. I'm gonna go 1-1 draw with a win in PKs for North Texas. I think it's one of those things where, as much as I want them to win, our back line is a little slow with Starnes and Bigger. They're a little bit slow sometimes, so they might probably concede a goal or maybe two. But I think also like Simmons and Nice, the quality there is too good, and also the size difference is going to be crucial for us on set pieces. Because their defending of set pieces recently hasn't looked good either. I don't know if you've seen like free kick defending in corners. It's kind of just a prayer and hope to God we don't have someone crash in the box type of defending. So it's one of those things where North Texas has looked really, really lethal on corners with Starnes and Bigger up there. So we might get a goal off a set piece and a goal in open play. I probably should go 2-2 or 3-3, but I'm going to try and be different and go 1-1.
All right.
And just predict something out of the ordinary.
All right. Well, let's shift over
I will
to
predict that. I will predict that if North Texas scores on two set pieces, they will in fact win the game. If that was to happen.
Love that.
Well, I wrote in my little reflection because there wasn't a ton to talk about, but just a weird game. But what I don't want to see North Texas is that last season, the up and down, just we dominate and we're like we figured it out, and then they go and play, and then just sort of I don't know if it's just the mental, taking the foot off the gas, or just the lack of concentration, which I think young teams can do. but we'll be hopefully see them kind of work through that and figure out some new strategies just to come out and grind a sequence of victories and results together to kind of build their way up that Western Conference. All right, well, let's shift over to, of course, FC Dallas will welcome the Dynamo, and big match against a Houston Dynamo team that we know can do some damage. That has new pieces. The question is whether those pieces work or not. They've also traded away some guys. They actually I saw this week, and they were getting a little shade for it. They traded for a guy that they had traded away before, right? So it's like they can't quite figure out who they want. But, I think Ben Olsen's side reminds me a little bit of just the Quill approach, that he's going to try to get a lot out of his guys, get a lot of buy-in. He's a player's kind of coach. We'll happy to grind a point out on the road. So I think that's what they're going to be wanting to do, is just to make FC Dallas miserable. But we have a guy named Petar Musa who just scored a hat trick. I think we have a team that knows they have yet to play the best they can, and they're going to keep working to put all of that together on all sides of the ball. So, any thoughts on how you think FC Dallas is going to match up with Houston, Jose?
Well, I mean, it's a rivalry match. It's going to be tough going, no matter what Houston rolls out there. It's going to be tough. I just think I think this is a winnable match for FC Dallas, even though it's a rivalry match. I like the way FC Dallas has played the last two games, and if they can keep playing that way, they'll beat Houston. If they they were up for those two occasions, and it'll be interesting to see if they can get up for this one too. This is a winnable game at home. I think we match up very well against them, and I'm pretty excited for this match. I think it's very winnable.
Chris, anything you want to add how we match up? I'm just looking at possession totals are pretty similar.
Yeah.
Houston, these teams can play in a similar way under these two coaches.
Yeah, no, I think we match up really well against them, and I think one thing just highlighting earlier, I think we've done a really good job so far this season against some really, really tough opponents. Dynamo, on the other hand, they get dominated by LAFC. They play fire. They win that game. They beat Portland, albeit down a man. But, I just don't love those wins. Their loss was pretty telling. We've just looked so good so far this season. I'm going to be honest. I think it's going to be a bloodbath, and that's not me being biased as a Dallas fan. I think it legitimately is going to be a really, really impressive win for us. I think I'm going 3-1 Dallas.
All right.
Wow,
Colin,
nice.
What are your thoughts?
I 100% agree with Chris here. I mean, the Portland team has looked god-awful. They're a contender to be like bottom three with St. Louis and Kansas City. Unless they turn something around. Playing a young kid from the Next Pro team that didn't look great for the Next Pro team at striker and dropping more as like a cam is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my freaking life. But and then Chicago Fire is one of those teams, like half the time they're hot, half the time they're cold. And then LAFC, they just got absolutely dominated. Looking how we play against those teams, there should be nothing but a big win here. I understand it's a rivalry game. I understand that, last year we expected to win and we lost at we lost. It's one of those things where like we had an absolutely terrible run of form at home. This is a different Dallas team. This is, they could argue that it's a different Houston team. Great, you signed Bogusz. You signed a 31-year-old Guilherme on the wing. I'm not scared of that when they're facing even Norris and Abiaga at the back. Kumungo's going to be able to keep up with Bogusz. I mean, he did it whenever we played LA in 23. He did really well on the wing, being able to track Bogusz because Nico would have him still track back as a winger. And then we also have Johansson being able to bully Guilherme, who's like 5'8", 120, soaking wet, going against 6'3" Johansson. Yeah, that shit's not going to fly, pardon my language. But it's one of those things where it's like, dude, I don't see a universe. And then that defense is god-awful. You're signing an Orlando City reject who has one of the worst defenses in the league right now. and Antonio Carlos, and then their other center back I think suspended or hurt, and then you have the red card down a man as well. So it's one of those things. Man, if we don't beat it, I'm going 4-0, and I don't care.
Let's
And that is
go.
me being genuine. I'm being nice. If I wanted to be biased, I'd be like, all right, 6-0, Musa hat trick, Bernie somehow going to score. Give me an Osaze corner kick over, like bicycle, like something ridiculous. It's going to happen. We're going to win 4-0 or something big. It's not going to be no close 1-goal game. And if it is, I'll lose my mind on Twitter like I normally do. But no, it's going to be a dominant win for Dallas in all areas of the field. And if unless we have, barring another injury, like if we have an Osaze type injury in the midfield of like Ramiro or Kappas being out, there's no way I see us struggling against this Dynamo team.
Jose?
I guess they've convinced me. I'll go with 3-1. I do think this is a game where FCD's strengths will really shine, and you got a hot striker up top. It's there. All the signs point to a big win, and like I said, I'm going 3-1 simply because I have a little complacency. Might be a late goal that's allowed.
Yeah, I'll go a little more conservative because again, I still like the idea of this team. I know they're going to give it all, but they're just trying to find the right balance, and I think it'll be enough for me. I think it's a win. I think it's a 2-0 win, but I just think it's enough for me to see a much stronger defensive performance. No major mistakes. Not that they're going to be perfect or have to be perfect, but just kind of play the way they did against LAFC and keep Houston from really doing anything dangerous, and balance that energy a little bit, still get the 2 goals, but then be happy just to kill the game, happy just to grind it out, which is something I want to see from this team. No problem seeing a 6-0, 4-0 romp. I mean, that would be fantastic, but just a good 2-0 win at home to say, all right, we got our early season jitters out of us. We're ready to fall into form and just start putting some results together. That's where I want to see them on Saturday. Well, guys, I think we'll leave it there. Great show. Appreciate Luke watching in, others liking the show. Of course, we'll be posting the audio later wherever you find podcasts. Look us up at Afterburn Soccer. Of course, read Chris's great coverage over at Third Degree. And a lot of chances just to chat and hang out with us throughout the week as we look ahead to what's going to be a lot of fun, a rivalry match, nothing like it, as we kind of get this season kind of full steam ahead. I think that's what we all kind of want to feel as things get going. Appreciate your time tonight, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye, everyone.